Hey, my friends, welcome back again to Rebuild Reality, where as always, we talk about who we really are, why we're here, and of course, how all of this 3D stuff actually really works. I am your host, Guy Cheyenne, and today we're going to be talking about something that we're going to really blow some doors open today, because normally we're talking about things coming from the spiritual end of things, understanding things, reality from that end of things. But if we can also come and from the 3D end of things and connect these two together, we're going to cancel out duality altogether, because these two places are coming into agreement and there's nowhere else to go but this reality, but the solidity of the truth of everything that we've been talking about. So let's begin. Now, this article that I've been wanting to share with you guys is called The Illusion of Reality, the Scientific Proof that Everything is Energy and Reality Isn't Real. Now, I'm not reading the entire article because this video would go on for quite some time. It's going to be long enough as it is. But I wanted to get to the pertinent points here. So let's begin. Early in the 20th century, the unquestioned assumption that the physical universe is real led to a scientific search for the elementary point particle upon which all life is built, which would prove that reality is not an illusion. But as soon as scientists began smashing electrons and other particles in enormous accelerators, they quickly realized the foundations of the physical world weren't physical at all, that everything was made of energy. The picture that we had had up to that time were that atoms were these little solar systems, a picture of electrons and protons as tiny, solid, planet-like structures whizzing around a large interior neutron in an atom. But this idea was dead wrong. Subatomic particles that make up all matter, including you and I, have no internal structure and no physical size, meaning that they are entirely illusionary. They have no dimensions and are more like events than things. This is what we are. Energetic particles, of which atoms are all made, can be also in more than one place at one time. And this is called superposition. Electrons and other non-particle particles are capable of being in hundreds of places simultaneously, actually everywhere simultaneously. One particle existing everywhere at exactly the same time. Like I talk about, this is like a house of mirrors, right? It's really one thing appearing as everything. That's what we are. And this is only possible if everything is one thing on a fundamental level. It seems like the more physicists discover, the worse things get for those hoping to hold on to any sort of sense of normal reality. In fact, toward the end of his life, when Einstein was asked what was the biggest physics question he wished could be answered before he died, and he replied, "I'd be happy if I just knew what an electron was." And of course, now we do. But reality is stranger than we think. It's stranger than most people can even conceive of. And scientists have been dealing with the shocking implications of quantum theory for 100 years now. But as far as mainstream society is concerned, scientists' stupefying conclusions about life may as well not even exist. It's the same old as far as an ego matrix is concerned, and yet quantum physics can free our minds from its superstitions and restrictions. There are no such things as separation and objectivity, because how can you be objective if you can't get outside of it? It's one thing. Because all experiments are affected by the belief of the person doing the experiment, which is why you can't be separate from it. You can't be objective about it, which blows the idea that we can be objective, of course, completely out of the water. The Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics indicates that reality the world as we know it, can only take place if some sort of measurement or observation takes place on the macro level of existence, the level where scientists and all of us ordinary human beings operate. Which means that not only is everything energy in a physical sense, but that it responds to consciousness itself. And this is exactly what we've been talking about, how the electrical signals from our brain literally go and connect, are received by subatomic particles. And this is what is telling them what to do. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our assumptions, that whole package is instructing subatomic particles to collapse into the reality that we experience according to what pictures we send them. This is like what is physically happening here. On a scientific level, this is what is going on. So, in other words, unless some agency, such as human consciousness, interferes, particles remain in an energy wave state of all possibilities and do not collapse and solidify into matter, which we would then experience as our particular version of reality. So unless something out there or our consciousness does it, it wouldn't happen. There would be no reality. Ultimately, reality as we experience it seems to be the result of human consciousness interfacing with the quantum levels of existence that are pure waves of energy. You think that's air you're breathing? Morpheus asked Neo in their martial arts sparring scene in The Matrix. Think again. Morpheus is trying to get across to Neo that everything he thinks is real is actually only information that the brain receives and translates into a picture that we call reality. Scientists are beginning to think in this same way now, understanding that energy is everything and energy is information in its purest sense. The Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics isn't the only indicator that an information-based matrix of energetic reality is what we're actually dealing with here. Entanglement is another conundrum of physics, which also indicates this. Once particles, and you as peers are gonna want to listen up to this, once particles have interacted, they become entangled, which means forever after they affect each other's spin. They are connected by an unseen energy of force that permeates everything. It's as if once two particles have kissed, they become lifelong pen pals. No matter how far apart they get, if scientists change the spin state of one entangled electron, it is guaranteed that its partner spin state will change in the opposite direction in response so that they remain connected. Every single time, instantaneously, even if they are a million light years apart. And this can only happen if energetically everything is connected on some level. So this means that either we ignore Einstein's theory of special relativity and its prohibition against faster than light travel for an information-bearing signal, and instead accept that particles are somehow breaking the speed limit and communicating instantaneously across vast distances, or that at the subatomic level, everything is connected, and I mean everything. And entanglement is revealing why. Replicated studies show that living cells can instantly communicate over distances. One of the simplest experiments involves a batch of algae cells grown in a petri dish. After a few days, the cells are divided into two batches. One batch remains in the original dish, and the rest of the cells are whisked away to a different laboratory. When the original group of cells is stimulated by a low voltage current, the separated group of cells in the lab miles away reacts in precisely the same way, to the same degree, at the exact same instant that the original batch of simulated cells reacted, even though nothing is happening to them at all. So, if everything from entangled electrons to atoms to living cells are actually hooked up and intercommunicating, then connectivity must be the key to the whole universe. A host of assorted theories have attempted to explain entanglement, but the simplest, most elegant theories take us always straight back to the matrix and the idea that when all is said and done in 3D, everything really is energy that appears to be both constructed and directed by consciousness, and not the false, solid reality that we perceive. Noted English mathematical physicist Sir Roger Penrose theorized that at the level of the Planck scale, and of course that's named after Max Planck, the father and basically the inventor of quantum physics, at the level of the Planck scale, which is an unfathomably small and unimaginably energetic scale at which even quantum field theory breaks down, that the entire universe is actually pure abstract information. And not information in the usual sense of the term. Penrose isn't talking about words or binary code. It's not electromagnetic, waves carrying pictures or other electronic signals. Things like microwaves are positively gigantic compared to the Planck scale. Rather, Penrose believes that the Planck scale is the abstract realm of ideas that Plato talked about, an intangible substrate of absolute coherence and mathematical geometry, I want you to remember that, from which the physical world is derived and formed. It is an intangible substrate of absolute coherence and mathematical geometry from which the physical world is derived and formed. What Penrose says is that this is Platonic information, which is actually embedded non-locally or holographically, so that all of the information is everywhere wherever you go. American theoretical physicist David Bohm has also created a model where the entire universe and every particle in it comprises an explicit order, resulting from active information contained holographically in an underlying implicate order. Remember that, holographically. Which means that everything that exists contains the information of everything else that exists. The information of the entire universe is contained holographically and energetically in every single cell. And of course, we hear about this, that the whole universe is inside of you, and that, the kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. This is what it means. It's all within you. All information that has ever existed or will ever exist exists within you right now. And how many cells are you made out of? You are made out of trillions of cells. All that information of anything you could ever want, ever desire, everything is literally within you right this very moment. So you are a walking, talking embodiment of the power of creation. All the information of creation exists within you right now. So, as the famous Austrian theoretical physicist Erwin Schrödinger put it, what we observe as material bodies and forces are nothing but shapes and variations in the structure of space. Particles are just appearances. Invisible, intangible, and unfathomably powerful energies lie at the foundation of the universe and within you, interconnecting and interpenetrating all life, unfolding as life. And these energies are information, intelligence, consciousness itself. As Swami Muktananda, I hope I say that correctly, puts it, the self Shiva is supremely pure and independent, and you can experience it constantly sparkling within your mind. It cannot be perceived by the senses because it makes the senses function. It cannot be perceived by the mind because it makes the mind think. Still, the self can be known, and to know it, we need not need the help of the mind or the senses. Bottom line, matter and energy, information and consciousness are just different ways of looking at exactly the same thing. And if we include the experience of mystics who have greatly grasped and taught that everything is energy and about the unified consciousness of creation for millennia, we can add the word self to this interchangeable mix as well. So, self, intelligence, information, energy, mass, life, God, spirit, consciousness is all one thing. It's all the same thing because in the truth of reality, whether we look at it from the spiritual end or the 3D quantum physics end, everything is one thing. Now, I want to touch on the part about how they were talking about it being reality really kind of breaking down into, this geometrical mathematics, right? So I know I've spoken about him before. I haven't spoken about him in length because I respect his privacy, so I will call him Mr. T. But there is someone that I know who isn't like anybody else I've ever met or ever even heard of. He understands how to take his consciousness out of his body and put it into another dimension, another reality. And I don't mean just in a out-of-body experience, in a waking dream kind of thing. I mean just like this. Just like this. He's able to move his consciousness, literally have like a near-death experience, like a spontaneous near-death experience, move to another level of consciousness, experience it not only just as real as this, but more real than this. In fact, he has a number of other lives in other places. So he helped me understand things that were happening to me, things that I had experienced in my near-death experience, and things that I had experienced after that, because I'm like, I don't know where these places are I'm going. I don't know what I've experienced. I don't know how it all fits together. So he helped me. He's like, oh, that's that. And oh, you're over there. And that's what that was. It's like, oh, now it fits together. Now it makes sense to me. So he goes to these levels, fourth dimension, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, etc. And he said that when he got out, eventually, as far as he was able to go, it was worlds, multiple, infinite worlds of geometry, mathematical geometry, like sacred geometry. And he said when he'd always been able to go farther, but this time, when he went beyond that, where did he end up? He ended up right back here. Right back here. Why is that? Because this is heaven. This is all of it right here and right now. We think of heaven. We think of other places that we want to get out of 3D. We want to get out of this place. We don't like it. We want to get into fourth dimension, fifth dimension, wherever, we want to go to heaven. We want to take all the pressure off. We want things to be easier. We want to exist in a state of love and all of these things, right? But they're all here. They're not anywhere else because there is nowhere else but here. There is only one place, one time, one reality, and it's right here and right now. Now, what dictates the shift of when we experience something else? Well, you remember how they were talking about all of this being holographic, that it holographically exists within everything, that all the information of all of creation exists within every cell on a holographic level. So you can think of it like this. Have you ever seen those little things where it's like a hologram, or it's like these little, you get like these little, where they put like little sparkles and things like that in them, and when you twist them and you look through them, they change the picture. They change like into different, images and stuff. And this is exactly what we do with our thoughts. We're changing in this hologram. Your thoughts are what shift you to another reality. That's where the shift is taking place, because it's all here right now. Heaven is here right now. When you agree with that, when you say, yes, this is my reality, this is the truth for me, this is my reality, I'm there in my mind, and it's eventually it's going to show up here. I'm not going to worry about there, because I know that the true reality is the imaginary world, that's the true world. And because there is where creation begins. So this is how we're shifting these realities, into places. We think we're in the same place at the same time. It's like, yeah, well, things have kind of changed, or maybe things that haven't changed at all. It's like you're constantly shifting. In every moment, you're shifting, millions of times a moment. So it's just that we're not aware of that we're recreating reality in every moment. So that's why we want to recreate it the way we want it, but we're not going anywhere. It's all here right now. The whole universe of all of creation is within you and at your beck and call now, if you will look at it, if you will believe in it, if you will shift your attention, your focus to it, and say, this is the truth of my reality now. That's it. That's it. I don't even care about the 3D. It can do whatever it's going to do. I'm going to live there because I belong there. And that's how you shift into these different places in creation. And I don't think that there's anywhere we can't go. I don't believe that the rules that we know it really apply, because of the near-death experience I had, which I know I haven't spoken about. I've watched a lot of near-death experiences, and they all have similar stories. And the one thing that bothered me was that a lot of people be like, I got sent back. I didn't want to come back, but I got sent back. It's like, why you wouldn't send yourself back if you didn't want to go? So places I think people are going are still places where people haven't gone beyond physical form. You have to go beyond any kind of form in order to get into the true reality, because the true reality has no form. So if you're in a place that has form, you are still in a human created reality. We think only 3D is a created reality. This is a human created reality. So is the 4th dimension. So is the 5th dimension. You have to go into the 6th dimension before you get beyond form. And then you are closer to the oneness. And then you go through these degrees of these shedding of any kind of waves of information that you've picked up that aren't your true original signal. So that's how we shift. That's how all this fits together in this holographic geometric universe. So I wanted to share that with you guys, because I think it's this really kind of powerful information when we can come together from both ends of this and be like, this fits together, then we can get on top of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for being a part of this channel, and I look forward to seeing you guys here next time on Rebuild Reality.